Hey guys, so today we're going to look at some more DOS commands, but we're also going to introduce the idea of switches. Switches and parameters are bits of information that you can add to a DOS command, usually with a backslash and a letter or a number, and they will expand the capabilities of whatever command you're using. So we're going to look at some different commands, things that you should be able to use, things that are important, and things that will help you. Sometimes you don't want to just use the plain ordinary DOS command like we're going to see in these first ones. You definitely want to use the switch or the parameter to keep your system safe. So let's go ahead and look at the desktop. All right, so here we are. We're in our environment once again. We're going to save this as batch file 1_2 because this is the second one in our series. So once we've got it saved, and we saved it in the batch code folder, so we'll always know where to find it. All right, so let's go ahead and look at one of these. First of all, as always, at echo off, we turn off the echo command. We only want to use it with the current file for the purposes of the current file. We don't want to leave this on, so let's go ahead and turn it off. And now we're going to look at a command called date, D-A-T-E. Now date allows you to display and also to change the current system date. So currently our system date is 3/25/2004. If there was a reason to change that, we could use this command, and sure enough, we could change the system date. But we don't want to change the system date most of the time. We may just want to display it when we are doing a log file or tagging something with a date timestamp. We don't necessarily want to change the system date, so the switch that we can use with this command is /t. So we're going to use \t, and when we do that, that will display the date without giving us the option to change the date. So let's go ahead and use our pause command in here, and we're going to save it. There's only supposed to be one space in there, so I guess that's right. Okay, so let's save it, and let's go ahead and run it. Oops, wrong backslash, my bad. There's the right one. Y'all shouldn't have let me do that. Let's try that again. All right, so the current day is Monday, March 25th, 2004, and of course I paused it. So we're going to press any key to continue, and when we do, it'll shut the window down. Now, if you don't use the date command, then what will happen is when you run this, it's going to ask you to change the system date. So current system day is Monday, 3/25/24. Enter a new date, and if you enter a new date in the correct format, it's going to accept it. You don't want to do that. So let's go ahead and shut this down and change put our switch back in. When we put the switch in, all it does is displays it, and then you can send that to a text file or a log file or whatever you happen to be creating. And that is a very good way to date stamp things and designate when something happened. So the date /t is a very good DOS command to use. Let's look at some more. Okay, the next one we'll look at is version. And version shows the Windows, what version of Windows is being used. And so we're going to go ahead and do that. And what we're going to do is we're just going to leave all these where we can go through them in the end and just hit the space key and move through each of these commands. So let's go ahead and save that. This time we're going to run it. It shows the date again, and now version, Microsoft Windows version 10.0.19045.4170. That is the current version of Windows that this laptop is running. So there are times when you need to know what version it is. If you're doing a log that has error handling or error reporting, you need to know what version of the operating system that you're using sometimes when there's an error. So you set up the log to run when there's a specific error, and then you can put the version of Windows in to the log, and then when you send it to somebody to interpret it or to fix the problem, then they can see what version of Windows that you are running. So version is a handy command to have. As with any programming environment, it's nice to be able to add comments, and so we're going to do this in batch programming as well. The command is rem for remark, and we're going to say this is a comment, and the computer will ignore it. There we go. And we're going to pause again, and we shouldn't see anything change, because basically it's going to do the date, it's going to do the version, and then it's going to hit this comment, not do anything, but it's going to pause again. So let's save it, and let's run it. There's the date, there's the version, there's nothing. It read the comment, but it ignored it because it's not an executable command. It's specifically for the programmer, and then once again we hit our last pause, we shut the program down. So to make comments in a DOS batch file, you use the rem statement. Alright, so as with date, we can also display the system time, and also as with date, we don't want anybody to change it, so we're going to use the same switch that we used with date in the time command so that we don't accidentally change the system time. So we're going to display the time command just like we did with date. Save it, run it, and we have the date, the version, the comment, and it is now 10:20 a.m. So that is our current time according to the system clock. So now we can close that one. Time works just like date. If we leave off the switch, the /t switch, then what will happen is the command prompt will give us an opportunity to change the system time, and we don't want to do that. Alright, sometimes you also need to know which volume you're using. Once again, with logging capabilities, when you have an error, you want to know what volume the error occurred in, and that means the current disk volume and serial number, by the way. So let's go ahead and look at the vol. Now this one doesn't require particularly a switch because it doesn't allow you to change the disk volume. So let's go ahead and save it. VOL is the command. We're going to run it. We got the date, we got the version, we got the comment, system time, and the volume is C drive. It has no labels. I didn't give it a name. The serial number is for EEA-D818. And if you had an error on this drive, it would be helpful to know, especially if you had multiple drives. If you had multiple drives in your computer, it would be nice to know which one was causing the error. So this way you can log whatever drive it is that's causing the error. A big part of Windows troubleshooting is looking at driver files. When a attachment or a peripheral won't work, then we need to know why. And so if you want to discover information about your driver files, you can use a command called driver query. And so it's all one word, Q-U-E-R-Y. Driver query allows you to see all the installed devices and their drivers and their properties. So let's go ahead and run this one as well. Save it, run it, date, tone, comment, net. Alright, and so when we hit this one, wow, there are all of the devices that this computer has drivers for. Now a lot of the devices are not installed, like there's a floppy drive device in here. There's a lot of things that are not, but they are drivers that are built into Windows. And so when Windows installs into a system, it installs with all the drivers, whether they're used or not. For example, PCI, there's the bus driver. Get it? Port configuration, that's another driver. A WAN mini port, I don't have that installed, but if I did, I have the drivers for it. RAM disk drivers, if I want to create RAM volumes. Let's see. There are all kinds of serial mouse. If I somehow could install a serial port onto this computer and then install a serial mouse. There's a driver for it. Same thing with a high capacity floppy. If I for some reason chose to install a floppy drive, I've got the drivers. These are all legacy drivers left over from Windows long ago, but they're all still there and all still functional. See, there's a floppy disk controller. That's the one you actually need to run the floppy drive. It's still there, even though it's been a long time since Windows has put a floppy drive into a computer. So basically, these are CD-ROM drivers. I don't have a CD-ROM in this system, but I do have the CD-ROM drivers. Bluetooth, there's one of my Bluetooth drivers. Essentially, all the drivers that I have for all the devices that could be installed in this computer, I have drivers for them, and that is a list of them. Also, the driver type, whether it's a kernel driver, file system driver, what else, and then the release dates. These are the versions of the drivers that I have, or the day that they were installed. But regardless, I have a list of all the drivers. So if I need to troubleshoot a device and I don't know if I have the driver or not, I can look at the device and then go through this list, and eventually I'll know if I have that driver or not. All right, next one we're going to look at is system info. Basically, system info tells us just about everything you could want to know about your computer. And it works the same way as the driver query does. It allows you to look at every little bit of system information on your computer. So let's go ahead and run it. Okay. And now it may take it a minute to load because it really does have to dig through a lot of information. All right, there it is. Host name, Library 210, that's my computer. Windows 10 Enterprise is the operating system. The version is 10.0.1954, Microsoft's manufacturer, etc. It's set up as a workstation, as a multi-processor because it has several processors in it. Registered to owner. It's a Dell Latitude 5421, one processor, and eventually this is the processor chip. This is how much RAM I have, what time zone I'm in. There's the volume information that we looked at a while ago. 32 gigs of RAM, etc., etc. These are the different updates and hotfixes that have been installed from Microsoft. And Hypervisor is activated because I do use this occasionally. So press any key to continue, and that ends the pause. So essentially, all these commands are information that you could use when you're creating a log, when you're building a batch file that you need to get more information about the environment that you're working in. Then you can use these commands to pull information out of there. The last one we're going to look at is the title command, and this is probably the most useful one. Actually, it's probably not. So, title command allows us to set the title of the command bar, which is the top window up here. It allows us to set the title in the DOS window that we're looking at when we run the file. So if I do this, if I say title, and then this is my batch file, and then I save it and I run it, go through all the lists, I load the information, and then finally, all right, see it changed the title of the command line window, or the command bar up here. This is my batch file, and that is exactly what I put down here. This is my batch file. Okay, that's what it does. It allows you to change that title. This is useful in so much as if you've got a process running and you've got multiple command line windows on the screen, you can tell which one is which if you have set up the title to be something specific. So you can set up your title to be something specific that says this process is doing this, and then when this process runs, if you've got multiple command lines on the screen, you can tell at a glance which one it is. So that's why you'd want to be able to change this title. Also, it's nice to be able to change the title. All right, so that should about do it for an introduction to DOS commands. We're going to look at a bunch more commands next time that are more geared toward file operations, but this is basically DOS commands for computer information. That's what you're going to be able to find with these particular commands. Next time we're going to look at how to create files, how to create folders, how to delete files and folders, how to move files and folders, how to copy files and folders, things like that. This is the next important step in creating logging files, because you need to be able to create a text file, you need to be able to append text to it, you need to be able to save it, you need to be able to put it somewhere in a folder or into a directory somewhere, so that if you don't want to have a running log file, if you want to have separate log files for each incident, then you have to be able to create new text files every time. So that's the sort of thing that we're going to be looking at next time. Remember, if you need help, contact me through the through the Canvas inbox, or second floor of the library behind the back, or beside the back stairs, room 210. I can be reached at 903-463-8756 or whiteR@grayson.edu. And I hope to see you in class. Have a good day.